Yeah. So we saw till intra-company and inter-company.
Mm-hmm.
So any doubt, or we can go for AGS.
Let's move on. I still
Okay.
haven't reviewed that, but I know I'll have a lot to catch up, but that's fine. Let's move on.
Yeah. Let me know if anything is there.
Mm-hmm.
So we can check that on my side. Yeah. So I'll start with the basic configuration for AGS.
Uh-huh.
So we saw the setup that we actually planned. So
Mm-hmm.
what we are trying to do here is that we have a configuration already done for
Mm-hmm.
two. Actually, there is small data correction that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I created different units, TS and TKS. So with
Okay.
this, we will try to do the intercompany transaction.
Okay.
So TS is our Tata Steel and TKS is our Tata Consultancy.
Okay.
Yeah. So to start with, so we have the intercompany transaction types. So this is
Mm-hmm.
nothing but this is similar to our if you see it in AP model, we have something like invoice, standard invoice, debit memo, credit memo. So
Yes.
similarly, this is one kind of a transaction that we are trying to do. So here if
Okay.
you see, so we have addition. So this is for the assets. Similarly, we have adjustments and this thing, chargebacks, payments, sales. So
Mm-hmm.
here we are utilizing this one, the default, and we are using intercompany shared services.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the two things that we are taking for our use case understanding.
Okay.
So here there are few options. So if you see here, so invoice I have disabled, which means I can use
Mm-hmm.
this particular transaction only
Mm-hmm.
to transfer the entries to general ledger. I cannot transfer to the subledger modules like AP, AR, and the other things.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So when I disable this option, invoicing, so I
Uh-huh.
can send this entries only to the general ledger module, but I'll not be able to send it to AP and AR modules.
When you say you send the transactions to GL, what do you mean?
Transferring the entries. Like if you see,
Oh, that is within GL you can do that, but not outside of GL is what you mean.
no, like what will happen is that this intercompany AGS is a separate module.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So from here, we will transfer the transaction of intercompany to different modules. So the first
Okay.
thing is to transfer to the general ledger module. So this is
Mm-hmm.
first option. So this will
Okay.
happen when we disable this particular options and this thing. It's not
Okay.
mandatory that if we disable, we can send it. If
Uh-huh.
we disable, which means we cannot send to payables and receivables. So that is the
Okay.
understanding. But basically, we will transfer the entries. Maybe when we
Okay.
see in the transaction page, we will get to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe at that time, you can say if you have any doubt or this thing.
Okay.
Maybe we
Okay. Not
can
a problem.
revisit this one later also.
Okay.
Yeah. So for now, if you see here, this is disabled, which means I can use this only for the general ledger module.
Okay.
And we have approvals. So approval
Mm-hmm.
also I have disabled since we need technical this thing. So I have disabled the approval option also. So which means I will approve by myself.
Okay.
And we have conversion rate. So if we are
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the foreign currency transaction, so we can
Mm-hmm.
go with the rate whichever we wanted to have. Like
Okay.
we will load
Corporate.
yeah, we will select the corporate and we will load the values or the
Mm-hmm.
daily rates in the corporate for the given date.
Okay. But so do you have to separately load that because you already give that when you're doing it earlier, right? In GL?
Yeah. Yes, yes. So that's
So,
what I was saying. Like, if you see the date that we entered is for till 30th of October. So
okay. If
now
you
we are,
want anything beyond,
yeah,
okay,
yes, correct. Now we are
you have
on,
to redo
now,
it.
yeah, it's correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And the second option that we are going to use is intercompany shared services. So here, if you see, I have enabled the invoice option. So which means
Mm-hmm.
I can transfer these entries to the payables or receivable. if I'm
Mm-hmm.
selecting this transaction type inside AGS.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the initial configuration that we will have for to set up the transaction type. If you remember, when we are seeing morning in the balancing rule, so we
Mm-hmm.
saw something like the transaction type when it is only for the
Yes.
AGS. Yeah, so this is
Mm-hmm.
what the transaction is.
Yeah. But let's say so the AGIS can have multiple transaction types.
Yeah, it can have multiple.
Okay. And you choose it based on whether it's a chargeback or an adjustment or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, correct. We can
So,
choose.
but when you define this or when you configure this, you have to configure all of these
All of this in the sense,
in a sense, like whatever is listed here, right?
yeah,
Do you have to go make sure that all of these are configured to, or I mean, whatever, however you want it in the sense like invoicing you want or you don't
yeah,
want
yeah,
enable, disabled? Because I know right now for testing purpose, you're just taking two, which is default
mm,
and shared services. But
yeah,
let's say in the real time world, when let's assume I'm doing this,
yeah,
I can't assume that is just default and sales shared services,
yes,
which means I have to create all of these.
yes, correct. We will have to define it for each transaction type.
So when you define this, you are entering it here manually. Are you typing it, or how do you do it?
Yeah, manually we can type it. Like if you see, so I have created two things like the data and this thing. Anyway, I have uh,
Mm-hmm.
disabled this option
Mm-hmm.
to avoid the complication, but we can do it. Like we can just click add here,
Mm-hmm.
and this will open a page. So we will just
Mm-hmm.
give the transaction type, and we will enable these options for this, and we will have to give this things. What do you call? The balancing role for this transaction type.
Okay. So when this I/C additions, adjustments, all of these are seeded, or is that something that you have to know?
Yeah, this is seeded one.
Okay. So apart from, though you have the seeded ones, you still can go ahead and customize it based on which company you're using.
Yeah, we can customize it, but the thing is, we will not have a requirement in the sense like there are only two things that we will do. So one is for
Okay.
transferring to only to the general ledger model, and the other is to transfer to the payables and receivable as well. So apart from
Okay.
that, if they wanted to have their own naming convention,
Mm-hmm.
so for those cases also, we can edit the standard this thing names.
No, it's a free form text. Okay.
Yeah, so we can change that. I would suggest to go take this option instead of
Okay. Okay.
customizing this thing. So I have tried
Okay.
this also. So we will have some issue in generating the balancing tools.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, the reason I'm asking is
yeah,
it can't be that simple by just adding
yeah,
two,
yeah,
right?
correct.
So I was just wondering if I had to do everything or what. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, so the next setup would be the system options. So system
Mm-hmm.
options are kind of an one-time configuration. So
Mm-hmm.
once you enable this calendar and other things, so we cannot change this. So basically, so if you see here, so as an initial configuration, I tried out with HW calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So once I have given the calendar, I will not be able to change this calendar. Let's say
Okay.
by mistake I have attached it instead of attaching the physical calendar, I attached normal monthly calendar. So I
Mm-hmm.
cannot change this.
Okay.
So this will be broken.
So how did you come to this page? Can you go back?
Here, system options.
System.
Below this one, the transaction type, we will have the system options.
Oh, okay, okay. You came here. Okay.
Yeah,
System options. So when you say you can't change it, let's assume by mistake, as you said, you have two HW and HW1, and instead of HW1, you selected HW underscore cal. Okay.
Okay.
So you said you can't do it. So in that case, what do? You go back and recreate everything, or what do you do? What are the things that you need to do to fix that?
No, we cannot do anything. So that's it. This is one-time setup. We should be conscious while attaching the calendar. If you see, even if
Uh-huh.
I create a new one, or even if I try to reset to default, this will not change. So this
Okay.
will be
Is there a way I can delete this?
no, we don't
No,
have
right?
that answer.
Okay. System options. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's fine.
yeah. And apart from that, we have this batch numberings and the
No, the
currency.
only reason I was wondering is because, the intercompany calendar is just an attachment here, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's the chart of account structure or something that you're changing. So
Mm.
um, I don't know why it would not let you create something else all from scratch.
Yeah, this can be allowed. The reason why they have frozen this page is that to avoid what do you call the transactions and the other things if it has cloned. So to
Hmm.
avoid those configurations and the data corruption, they have frozen this field. So the question is valid. Like we should have given this option for the chart of account structure and the other things.
Hmm.
But instead they have given here. So the reason is to avoid the data corruption or manipulating the calendar here and there and
Hmm.
verifying the data. So to avoid that, they have frozen this basically.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I'm thinking is, right, let's assume there's a consultant who's finished his setups and everything, implementation is done, they've gone.
Yeah,
Um, so there is no, okay, there's no way it is actually, you can't even go and mess with this, right? You
yeah,
can't even edit this. So, okay, then that way they can't change anything. I'm just saying, let's assume half knowledge functional people come after that consultant is gone
yeah,
and they play around with it and get the wrong one, but there's no way that he can go and select also.
yeah, correct.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And apart from that, this batch numbering and the currency and these things. So this
Hmm.
is known setup. So we'll just
Okay.
attach the currency rate type and this thing.
Allow receiver to reject transactions. Okay.
Yeah. So allow receiver to reject transaction meaning. So I can allow the receiver. Let's say I'm the provider and the other entity. So he's the receiver. So provider
Mm-hmm.
is the one who sells the particular quantity or whatever the service it may be. So
Mm-hmm.
receiver can reject it. In this case, if I say this as an yes, so which means the
Mm-hmm.
receiver can reject this particular transaction. So this will
Okay.
be closed there itself. The transaction will be cancelled. But
Okay.
when I say no, which means receiver cannot reject this particular transaction.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what. And we have the default transaction type. So I have
Mm-hmm.
just selected default thing, the transaction that we saw for the GL.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we can override at the transaction.
Oh, okay.
And we have summarized distribution for the receivable invoices. Like this, I have given is because I wanted to summarize. Let's say I have 5 to 10 lines. So do I want to summarize based on the grouping that we have it in the AR? So do we want
Okay.
this option? So I have enabled this option.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So these are the system options that we have.
What happens if you click on reset to default?
It will change to the original one.
Original, what did you have? I mean, and I don't want you to click on it, but I just wanted to ask what was there originally when you came here to set your things up?
Yeah, originally only this will be no actually.
Oh, okay. The rest of them you have to fill up.
Yeah, the other things are similar. Like I changed only the calendar and this one to yes. So
Okay.
calendar anyway, even if we do reset to default, it will not change. And
Uh-huh.
only thing that will change in the entire page is this option to know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. Let's move on.
Okay. And we have the period status. So this period status we are picking based on the calendar that we are using, which is
Mhm.
associated with the ledger and these things which we are using.
Okay.
So we'll just verify the calendar for this one. This is November. Okay, the period is not open. I'll open it.
So make maybe so you can open the period from here itself.
Yeah,
Yeah. And when you see and when you're opening the period, it is specific to the transaction type.
yeah, yeah, correct.
It doesn't mean that if you just open it here, it opens up for the entire GL itself.
Yeah, it will not open.
Okay.
So if you see here, system will consider this, even though we created this calendar in the GL module, system
Hmm.
will consider this only for the intercompany periods.
Okay.
So, so that's why it is associated with the transaction type.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So this is our intercompany arc name. So I
Hmm.
have given a name for our intercompany arc. So that is
Hmm.
TS01 intercompany. And
Hmm.
I have also created TKS, and I have associated the
What was
respective.
that? Sorry, it wasn't clear.
Yeah. So I created two intercompany arcs. So
Uh-huh.
one is TS and the other one is TKS.
Okay.
There are the two many. Yeah. So these two are like TKS underscore 01 intercompany
Hmm.
and
Okay.
TS01 intercompany. So these two are us. So
Hmm.
the legal entity that I have attached is TS legal entity and TKS legal entity.
Okay.
And the business unit that I attached is TKS 01 business unit
Hmm.
and TS. So this is basically to integrate or to link our business unit and legal entity with the intercompany organization.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I have linked it and I have enabled it for the transaction.
Hmm.
Yeah, then we will have the intercompany related data access set. So data
Hmm.
access set is similar to our normal data accesses. So this is common, like similar across the modules. So even if we take APAR any module, so this will be same. So
Hmm.
here the role that we will use is that intercompany accountant.
Intercompany accountant. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just take
So let's assume you're giving a new person here.
Okay.
who hasn't, I mean, who doesn't have the roles assigned like previously, and you're just creating a new person. Let's say it is somebody else other than Arun.
Okay.
So in that case, you first create him as an employee and then attach the roles.
No, to attach the roles, it is not necessary to be an employee. So to be an employee, basically, if I wanted to have an GL accountant, so for that, it is not mandatory to be created as employee. So,
Okay.
but I need the role as an GL accountant or GL accounting manager or financial analyst.
Okay.
But
So
for
my, yeah, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, but for this case, when we have
Hmm.
the accounts payable or the procurement related configuration or the data
Hmm.
assignment, so that is when we
Hmm.
will need the employee assignment. So if you see the procurement and the other things, so unless
Hmm.
we are created as an what do you call the
Procurement
employee,
agent.
yeah,
Okay.
procurement agent, and so before that we need to create it as an employee. So after created as an employee, so we will create a procurement agent and we will assign the business unit. So
Okay.
after that, we will give the certain roles to the user, and then we will come to this particular page and we will assign it to the user. But whereas for
Okay.
the general accountant and the other roles, if you see, it is
Hmm.
not mandatory to have the what do you call the business units assigned.
Okay.
In terms of system, there is no check for this, but it is
Hmm.
always suggested to have employee role so that only employees will be able to access this.
Okay. So normally the employee role is attached in what cases you listed three, right? One is data access, and what were the other two?
Employee will be, I mean, there are two users. So one is implementation user and the other one is
Uh-huh.
employee user. So in
Okay.
terms of system restriction, if you see, so I
Hmm.
have this restriction that only employee will create certain transaction or certain data is only
Yes.
for the
Uh-huh.
suppliers. So apart from
Okay.
that, in terms of system, we don't have any restriction. But
Oh,
as
okay.
a practice, it has been followed only the employee user will be able to create transaction. So how are we
Okay.
identifying these are the employee users based on the roles that we are assigning? So if you see
Okay.
accounts payable and accounts receivable or general accountant or
Mm-hmm.
maybe asset manager. So these are the roles that we will give only for the employees. So as a
Mm-hmm.
practice, we will not give it for the implementation consultant. If we say
Okay.
he is an implementation consultant, always he will have only application implementation consultant. Maybe if he
Okay.
is an super user or he is the senior consultant who manages
Mm-hmm.
the entire role and the other configurations as well. So we will
Mm-hmm.
give additional role called IT security manager also. So that he can
Okay.
create the roles and he can assign it to the respective users or the junior consultants or whoever he wants to get.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So here I have given the role called intercompany accountant, and I have taken our intercompany arc. So that
Mm-hmm.
is TPS intercompany and TS intercompany.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the
So in order to create all the configurations that we did so far for the intercompany, right?
yeah.
If the whoever is doing it has the application consultant role, that they should be able to do those. But when it comes to the data access, that's when you're assigning the roles. Is that
Yes.
true?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. If you see the application implementation consultant, we haven't given for this particular user.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I'm able to view it because I have given role, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't give access because application implementation is for what do you call the configuration part. So for the
Mm-hmm.
configuration part, we cannot give any security context value because
Mm-hmm.
we don't have any such thing called the business unit or ledger or anything. So it will
Okay.
be created by this particular person. So that is
Mm-hmm.
why when you say this particular managed data access it for user, so this will be
Mm-hmm.
only for the employees.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, we will not assign IT security manager role and the application implementation consultant role for the implementation users. Like we will just assign it there at the security console, and we will
Mm-hmm.
have the relevant access to it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, fine.
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. So we have assigned it. I mean, the intercompany accountant we have assigned it.
Mm-hmm.
So the next configuration would be to define the vendor and the customer.
Okay.
So we have manage customer supplier association. Yeah. So here, if you see, I'll take TS.
Intercompany, a customer and supplier assignment. Okay.
Yeah. So these are the intercompanies that we have. So our intercompany is TS01 intercompany.
Mm-hmm.
So here, if you see, I have taken TKS legal entity for the customer. So the
Okay.
reason I taken TKS as a customer is that when we say we are transacting, which means Tata Steel as a company by myself, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
transacting with my subsidiary company, that is TKS or the Tata
Mm-hmm.
Consultancy Services, so which
Mm-hmm.
means in terms of business, Tata Consultancy is a customer for me because I'm selling some raw material or I'm selling some steel to Tata Consultancy for
Mm-hmm.
rebuilding the infrastructure purpose.
Okay.
Okay, so in this case, customer will be TKS. Similarly, when we
Okay.
see for the legal entity called TKS, TS will be the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this way
Yeah.
we integrate that this particular entity called TS, we will have TKS as a vendor, I mean customer, and
Mm-hmm.
TKS will have TS as an customer.
Okay. What about the first one? It has what that customer and the legal entity both are TS.
Yeah, so here if you see there is a difference. So I have chosen this one, TS01, which is specific to only this particular intercompany arc. So when I say TS as a whole, that is for all. So I
Mm-hmm.
can have both customer and supplier.
Okay. Oh, so that is where you changed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this configuration we are not using it. So we are taking up with this one, TS01 intercompany.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the use of this configuration here? I mean, I know what you said. You're transacting between two companies or let's say two legal entities.
Yeah.
But other than that, why would you give a supplier name and customer name here? Because when you are actually doing the transactions itself, right? The invoice and other things, you're interacting with the vendors, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
So, but then you have to first configure it here. But even when you didn't configure this, you were able to do the transactions, right?
Yeah. No, what we saw is the normal intercompany. But if
Okay.
you see
This is
this,
more AGIS, so
yeah,
between different legal entities and other things. So that's
yeah,
when you need the setup here. Okay.
yes, correct. So for the normal intercompany and intra-company, we don't need any of this configuration. All we need is
Okay.
only the balancing rule. So inside the balancing rule, we will give our
Mm-hmm.
segment and we will give our mapping. Like the ledger is so-and-so ledger and so-and-so legal entity. So when we
Mm-hmm.
have all those things in place, so we can
Mm-hmm.
directly link it and we can generate the intercompany accounts and the intra-company accounts. But
Okay.
whereas here in this case, all these setups are related to advanced global intercompany system. So
Mm-hmm.
this is not required for the normal intercompany and intra-company. So for intra and
Mhm.
so that is simple setup. Only in balancing rule, we will just attach it, and we are, I mean, system is going to generate relevant accounting entries.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's move on.
yeah. And then we have receivable assignment.
Receivables. So when you use the AGIS, it pretty much impacts both AP and AR.
It's not always as per the requirement, but there is a
Okay.
high possibility that it will affect AP and AR,
Okay.
because when it will not reflect is that when I disable this invoice option, so it will not go both
What option?
disable this invoicing in
Oh,
transaction type.
invoicing. Okay, okay.
Yeah, better.
Acha, acha. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
so if you disable that, it will not. So we don't have anything specific to what do you call the receivable or payable. So it is
Mhm.
kind of global. So in this case, so what will happen is that so system will either take both or system will not take any. So that is the understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, yeah. So in so this you're doing these configurations, assuming I mean the this being the case where you had checked invoicing for the IC shared services.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, if you hadn't checked that, then you don't have to come and do
Uh,
these setups for receivables and whatever the previous one was for customer and supplier.
yeah. Yes. Correct.
Those two you can avoid.
Yeah. Yes. Correct. So this we are
Okay.
making sure that we are doing it for this one.
Okay.
The subledger transfers also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this similar in EBS also? Because I've never, I mean, I don't know all this. I just worked in the bits and pieces. So,
Yeah. So EBS we don't have these things in a sense like we have the transaction type, system options, everything is almost similar. So even there
mm-hmm,
it will be on-time configuration for the calendar and these things. So only
mm-hmm,
difference would be on the data access. So apart from
okay,
that, almost everything is similar.
okay. I mean, the same concept of AGIS and everything is same.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
okay. So people who worked on EBS is easy to pick for them, right? The financials here, anything
Yeah,
can, I mean, they can easily grasp. Okay,
yeah, they can just correlate and they will get it easy.
okay, okay. So for you, the students that come are mostly from financial background or are they new like me?
Uh, uh, I mean, mostly they come from financial background.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will be in the implementation project and they will come so that they will clear their doubts and these things.
Yeah,
And
okay.
other set of people, they wanted to move from EBS to Fusion.
Mm-hmm.
And other set is like they will be completing the their degree and the educations, and
Oh, okay.
then directly they wanted to go into Fusion and they will take the course and this thing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So we have this one. We saw the receivables assignment,
Mm-hmm.
and apart from that, we have something called transaction account rules. So transaction
Oh,
account
yeah.
rules is something that will modify the way that we wanted to account our invoices or the intercompany transaction. So I'll
Okay.
just show here. So we will not create this one to avoid the
Mm-hmm.
complication. So we have sources. So source is nothing but our the
Where it's
module.
coming from.
Yeah, is correct.
So this is in terms of transactions, if they're coming from through an interface or manually entered, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, correct. So if you
Okay.
see here, so we have the objects, and we will just give the attribute column here. So so these are the default values that we have.
Okay.
So it will have attribute one, two, three, so similar to that, and we will have the
So
date.
what is this attribute value? I mean, which one are we looking at in the sense like is it a specific table or something that we are looking at?
This is similar to our chart of accounts. If you see in the chart of accounts, so we
Uh-huh.
are saving this chart of account values and the other details in a particular column called segment one. So similarly, here we are
Mm-hmm.
saving it under attribute one. So attribute one is majorly used for this one to store the additional information, like
Okay.
if you work on this integrations, so
Mm-hmm.
mostly you will use this attribute columns. Like for the AR
Okay.
module also, we will have the auto invoice and the other functionalities will
Mm-hmm.
work on the basis of attribute column, where we will update the invoice number, or if you are importing the legacy transactions, so we will
Okay.
map with either we wanted to capture the customer ID and the invoice, or if we have a
Mm-hmm.
specific value that we will need to validate and import those invoices, so there we can
Mm-hmm.
use it. So that is the usage of attribute one. So in this case, they are using for the intercompany this thing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So this is just a basic thing. So apart from that, we have this one, the transaction rules. So I'll just
So hold
yeah,
on. I
sure.
mean, I know if you can go back, the attributes were n number of attributes you had there, right?
Yeah,
So you just pick one attribute. Doesn't matter which one it is.
yeah, it is not. So the whatever attribute that we are seeing it here, so these
Uh-huh.
are like the seeded one. So we didn't
Okay.
create it.
Okay. So how do you specifically know it has been assigned to your, whatever you're working with?
Yeah. So after defining it here, so basically we will have the this particular source attached to the next configuration. So
Uh,
source is just
I'm
an
still confused, Arun. Let's say this is what is seeded, right?
yes, correct.
So you just use the seeded one. You don't create anything new for the source. But do you create or do you don't? I mean, do you not create?
No, actually I haven't created, but theoretically speaking, we can create the source.
Yeah, that's my thing. So if I were to create something, if let's say I want to create whatever, automatic or something,
Okay.
let's say, how do I create and where do I create? Because I see everything is grayed out on the top, even
Yeah.
to add.
We should have an option to add it. Okay, I'll check and I'll come back. But I believe we have an option to add the source. Probably this should be a lookup where we are populating from there. I'll check and I'll confirm on this.
Okay. Because let's assume I may not be using exactly how it is, right? I may want it
Yeah, yeah,
saying manual or
yes,
whatever.
yeah, understood. I'll check this and I'll come back.
Okay.
Because this I'm sure that we are not using for accounting hub. Okay, anyway, I'll check and I'll confirm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we will have the mapping set and the mapping rules. So
Mhm.
I'll just take this.
Yeah, give me a second. Let me see if my husband's meeting is done so that I can ask him to go get her from school. think I may take a break after 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So before that, we'll complete this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what we are seeing mapping. So the reason why we are using mapping is that to understand or to make system understand that this is how an account code combination should be generated. So this is the same form that we will be using for the purchasing module. So in
Okay.
purchasing, if you see in EBS, so we have
Mhm.
something called workflow. So based on the workflow, the account code combination will be generated,
Okay.
account generator. So here, if you see, this is entirely different. So they call this as a tab. Transaction account builder. So where
Okay.
we will create the mapping set and the mapping and the other things. So similarly, we have it for the intercompany transaction as well. We have the mapping set name and we have output type so that can be either segment or account code combination. The value set also
Mhm.
there, but it is suggested to have the account code combination or segment.
Okay.
And then we have the input source. So for now, this will be disabled. So once this is like enable, I mean, once we save this header information, so this will be enabled. So after that, we can enable, I mean, we can input this source.
Mhm.
So source is nothing but kind of a condition where we will say
Mhm.
if the source is this, so we will say this is
Mhm.
the chart of account and use this mapping for this kind of source
Mhm.
and when the chart of account is this one. So
Mhm.
based on this mapping, system will generate the account code combination that we are
Mhm.
inputting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So the mapping set comes into play
Yeah.
in what cases? And it's in terms of uh, s- what do you call it? The integrations?
No, not integration. So even in the normal intercompany transaction, so there
Mhm.
might be an scenario where this particular account, when it is created by this particular maybe the role or maybe this particular user or maybe this particular business unit. Let's leave the user and role. If this is created
Mhm.
by this particular business unit and this is associated with this ledger or the chart of account, so I wanted to generate this account code combination instead of having 2345. I wanted to have as in 3541. So
Okay.
for those cases, as a default account generation, how the system will pick is that it will pick based on the auto accounting rule that we are defining. So auto accounting, we will see it when we see the AR module. So for now,
Mhm.
auto accounting is nothing but it will generate the account combination based on the configuration. So
Okay.
in this auto accounting, so we can give by customer site or transaction type. So we will see
Okay.
that in detail. So for now, for understanding the intercompany, I'm saying this. So we have two
Mhm.
options: either to give it at the customer site level, or we
Mhm.
can give it at the transaction. So let's say
Okay.
we have given it at the customer site level. So for this case,
Mhm.
what will happen is that so whichever the business unit I'm using, system is going to
Mhm.
pick the same account code combination. So
Mhm.
in this case, if let's say I have four business units attached with this
Mhm.
particular customer, so I don't
Mhm.
want to use the same account code combination because
Mhm.
my department or my location is different from the business user one. So
Mhm.
I'm the business unit user two, and the business
Mhm.
user one is working under the location maybe New York and business user 2 is working under California. So in this case,
Okay.
how system will generate is that system is going to generate on the basis of New York because I have attached the New York location for the customer site.
Okay.
But actual scenario is that I'm working under the California business unit. So I don't want to generate this particular combination. So
Mhm.
for this case, the requirement would be that I wanted to generate this based on the what do you call location. Like if it is California, it will have different combination, and
Mhm.
if this is New York, it will have different combination. So New York anyway,
Okay.
we have defined it at the customer side, but when it
Mhm.
is for the how do you call, when it is for the California, so that is when we will
Mhm.
need this mapping set. So that is when we will
Mhm.
say, when the input source business unit equal to this particular value, and
Mhm.
we will say this is the chart of account and use this mapping. So inside
Mhm.
this mapping, we will say that this is the account that needs to be generated. So,
Okay.
so in simple terms, this is nothing but a if condition. So if this is
Yeah.
matching, this is the one system should generate.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is about the mapping set.
Yeah. So can we take a break here,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
15-minute break,
Yes.
so I can go pick her up? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.